never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It's hard to believe we are less than 48 hours away, depending on when you watch this video, from the month of November. Of course, tomorrow is Halloween, and then we are staring down the barrel in the month of November. So it's pretty much already a brand new year, because it seems like once Halloween gets here, everybody is scrambling for Christmas presents and Thanksgiving dinner and things like that. How you gonna go see all your family, all your wife's family, and the last 2 months of the year just absolutely fly by. But today here on the channel, I want to talk some college football and some wrestling. Now, I mentioned last week here on the channel that I had to take this past weekend off due to family obligations, and I hate not being in a wrestling ring, so I cannot wait to get back inside a wrestling ring this upcoming Saturday. And I'll tell you coming up sometime later on in the week where I'll be this Saturday. But if you follow the channel, then you should know without me telling you where I'll be this Saturday, since it is going to be the first Saturday in the month of November. But for today, wrestling wise, I want to talk about NWA. Now, they had a pay-per-view Saturday night. It's not one of their bigger ones, but it was still a really good one. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of it, because it's a name that I've never heard before until about a month ago when they started talking about this show. And I heard it pronounced by 3 or 4 people, and they all pronounced it differently. So I'm not really sure what the correct pronunciation is, and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm not going to say it. But if you follow the channel and have for a while, you know that I'm a huge fan of the NWA. I think they're doing some great work and have been for a while. In my opinion, as much as I love Impact, since Impact comes on a channel that nobody has, and NWA puts almost all their stuff on YouTube, and everybody watches YouTube, I think the NWA is the third biggest promotion out there right now behind the WWE and the AEW, and it may even compete with AEW, because the NWA just signed a contract with the CW Network, and the CW Network is slowly getting away from TV shows and becoming more of a sports/entertainment channel. I don't know as of yet whether or not they're going to carry any daily TV sports shows like ESPN does, like Fox Sports 1 does. I have not heard that, but I do know they're already carrying college football, and they're fixing to start carrying college basketball and MMA and NASCAR and wrestling. And it's a pretty good network already, and it's going to get bigger now that they're carrying all the sports stuff, NWA has signed a deal that their weekly TV show will come on the CW network. So since they had one of their bigger pay-per-views Saturday night, I want to talk about some of the matches. Now, counting the pre-show, which you can watch for free right now on YouTube, but counting their pre-show, they had about 14 matches. I'm not going to sit here and talk about all the matches, but I do want to discuss the ones that had people involved in them that most of you, if you've been longtime wrestling fans, you should know who some of these people are in these matches. So there's 6 matches that I'm going to mention, and then I'll tell you why I'm mentioning these 6 matches. I want you to know some of the background and the backstory on the NWA, so that if you do not watch it right now, when it starts coming on CW, you will. But as of right now, their weekly show comes on YouTube, so you can still catch up on it before it starts coming on the CW network. They had a match called the Devil's Last Dance Ultimate Hardcore War. And it was Judas, Max the Impaler, Alex Misery, and Magic Incorporated defeating the team of Sal the Pal, Gags the Gimp, Koa Laxamana, and Magnum Muscle. And the reason why I bring that match up is because Judas and Sal the Pal both work full-time at Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. So you can come out to Southern Fried Championship Wrestling if you have not been to a show yet and see 2 guys that work full-time for Southern Fried, but also work full-time for the NWA, because I think everybody knows by now that the NWA has their normal weekly television tapings in Atlanta, where the NWA did their tapings back in the 80s. As a matter of fact, Judas is the current Southern Fried Heavyweight Champion. They had a match called Pillar to Post, and it was for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. And it featured Joe Alonzo and Colby Corino. Now, Colby Corino is the son of former ECW wrestler Steve Corino, and he is very young, but he is already very, very good. And then we had a Burning Lake Brawl that was for the National Heavyweight Championship, and Silas Mason defeated Chris Adonis. And Chris Adonis used to be Chris Masters in the WWE. Then we had a Riddle Box match, which was Violent J and the Brothers of Funstruction defeating Vampiro and La Rebellion. Now, of course, we should know Violent J just by the name. And also, Vampiro was a part of WCW back in the day. Then we had the Knights of the Round Table Tables match for the World Tag Team Championship. Blunt Force Trauma defeated Knox and Murdoch. Knox used to be in TNA. He also wrestled for ECW back in the day. And of course, Murdoch is Trevor Murdoch, who used to be on Monday Night Raw. And then in a No Limits match for the NWA World Title, EC3 defeated Tom Latimer. And of course, EC3 was in TNA. He was brought in as Dixie Carter's nephew, if memory serves me correct. But he was also in WWE for a while. And Tom Latimer used to wrestle in TNA as Bram. And he was also at one time married to Charlotte Flair. I think he was her second husband, if memory serves me correct. So that's just some names that if you ever watched WWE or TNA, you know those names, so that if and when you start watching NWA, you'll say, hey, I know that guy. Hey, I know that girl. And if you watch NWA, chances are in just about every single match, there's going to be somebody that you know from AEW, WWE, or TNA. But NWA is definitely on the rise. Billy Corgan knows what he is doing. And I want to talk about college football for a quick minute or so. Talk about the AP poll. Of course, it came out yesterday. Normally, I give the top 25, but I'm not going to do that this week because this is the week where we get the 2023 debut of the college football playoff poll. So honestly, the AP poll is starting to mean less and less because the college football playoff poll will be what everybody will start going by now. So there's no point in talking about the AP top 25 when most of them are not going to matter. More than likely, if you're not in the top 15 of the playoff poll when it comes out this week, you have no chance of going to the playoffs. Now, of course, next year, when college football starts watering down the regular season and making it mean less and less, just like the NBA's done, just like baseball's done, just like the NFL's done, well then, when the debut poll for the playoff poll comes out next year, you can be top 25 and still have a chance at the playoffs. But this year, with it still being 4 teams, I don't see anybody that comes out 25th this week going to the playoffs. But the number 1 team in America is Georgia, followed by Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Washington. 6 through 10 is Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Penn State, and Oklahoma. And then we have Ole Miss, Notre Dame, LSU, Missouri, and Louisville rounding out the top 15. And of course, you can compare that with what the top 15 in the playoff poll looks like when it comes out tomorrow night. I believe that Georgia will be the number 1 team only because they've won the last 2 national titles and they haven't lost this year. I think they'll be number 1 until they lose, but it would not surprise me if Ohio State was number 1, only because, like I said last week, they have the 2 best wins in America. If you look right now, they beat Penn State, who's number 9, and Notre Dame, who's number 12. No other team has 2 wins over top 12 teams. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Buckeyes were number 1 because of that. But I think Georgia will be number 1 until they lose. I'm not so sure they do lose. That's just my personal opinion. Not saying they won't, but just saying I'm not sure that they will. But of course, every year we always think we'll close out the season with 7 or 8 undefeated teams, and it never happens. We'll have 2, 3 at the most. But somebody asked me at work last week, how come I don't talk about sports that much when everybody knows that I like sports. I like reading about it. I like talking about it. I like watching it. I like hearing about it. Before I got married and had kids, all I did was eat, sleep, and breathe sports. That's all I did. But they asked me how come I love sports so much. I don't talk about it much. I said it's because most sports fans are stupid. And I don't want to waste my time talking to people about something that in reality they have no idea what they're talking about. So I'll just keep my mouth shut and go on unless somebody asks me a certain question about a certain team or a certain game, and then I'll comment on that and I'll go on. Saw another perfect example this weekend. Of course, we know Clemson lost again Saturday, and I couldn't tell you how many people I've heard this year say that, well, ever since Clemson lost Brent Venables, they just ain't been the same team. First of all, last I checked, the downfall of Clemson began in 2021. Now, of course, it wasn't as bad as it is this year, but Clemson made the playoffs from 2015 through 2020, 6 straight years. 2021, they won at least 10 games, but they did not go to the playoffs. This is the 3rd straight year that Clemson's going to miss the playoffs. In 2021, when the downfall began, Brent Venables was still there. So even when he was there in 2021, the downfall started. Second of all, last I checked, Brent Venables was the defensive coordinator. And all of Clemson's issues this year are on the offensive side of the ball. Can't catch, can't block, can't run. We've given up 64 points this year on turnovers. That's 8 points a game. That's a touchdown a game we're giving to the other team because of turnovers. Did it again Saturday. NC State had a pick six, and Clemson lost by 7 points. Brent Venables coached defense, not offense. All of our problems this year are because of the offense. But for some reason, fans are just absolutely stupid. And it's not just Clemson fans, it's fans in general. We want to talk about something, and every time something don't go our way, we want to jump off a ledge and just start spouting out and spitballing all kinds of stupid stuff that in reality has nothing to do with the actual situation on what's going on. And I heard another Clemson man, his name is Jason Priester, and all my Clemson fans out there, you know who he is. He writes for a Clemson website. He's all into Clemson recruiting, and he made a comment after the game Saturday night talking about hopefully this bad season is helping Clemson lose all their bandwagon fans. And I mentioned here on the channel a few weeks back that I know for sure, for certain, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they've got some bandwagon fans, because I know some people personally that I have seen for 20 years in this area. And when Tommy Bowden was the coach, I never seen them wear not one Clemson shirt, not one Clemson hat. When Dabo took over, they didn't wear it. And then all of a sudden, they win 2 national championships, and they're walking around wearing the Clemson merchandise. I'm sorry, that's a bandwagon fan, because you were not a fan until they started winning, and now all of a sudden, you're a fan. And he was talking about wanting to get rid of the fans that just take sports too seriously. And there was a Clemson fan on Saturday that got on social media and just came out and called Cade Klubnik a punk. Now, I'm not a big Cade Klubnik fan. I've never seen one thing out of him that I've been impressed with. And I told everybody that would listen last year after the season, after I seen Cade Klubnik play against Notre Dame and South Carolina and North Carolina and Tennessee, and to me he looked pitiful in every game, that I did not think Cade Klubnik was the answer. And I still don't. But he's not a punk. He's never done anything to be called a punk. But that's not just Clemson fans, that's every fan base has those fans. There was a story about 5 years ago of 2 Alabama fans fighting and got into a brawl, and one of them shot the other one over Bama losing. And I'm sorry, but if that's how you are, don't be a Clemson fan, because you're going to have a heart attack at a young age if you put that much stock into what happens on the football field. It's a game. Everybody that knows me personally knows I'm a Clemson fan. My vehicle has tiger paws all over it. My house is decorated with something Clemson in every single room. I've always been like that, always will be like that. If you cut me, I bleed orange. But Clemson got beat Saturday, and I think the game ended at 5:19 Eastern Time. And I think by 5:20 Eastern Time, I was up doing something else, because, oh well, it's a game. But if you put so much stock into whoever your team is that you're going to get on social media and threaten to kill somebody and call somebody names over them struggling, find a hobby, do something else, because football is not for you. It's a game, and you should not take a game that seriously. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. I know right now I'm harping on Clemson because I'm a Clemson fan, and they've been winning for so long that now that they're having a down season, their fans just look like a bunch of idiots. But every fan base has that 5 or 6% of their fans that just make their entire fan base look stupid. because you say stupid stuff and you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea how to fix it. You have no idea what's going on. But when you call people names when they've done nothing wrong, that's just stupid. There was nothing wrong with that guy saying, hey, why is Cade Klubnik still our quarterback? But when you say, why is that punk our quarterback when he's done nothing to deserve being called a punk, that's just going too far. And earlier this year, I forget what team it was, but earlier this year, somebody lost a game because they missed a field goal. And that player was getting death threats the very next day. That's just stupid. There's no sense in that. And that's why I always say that social media is slowly but surely ruining sports, because there's always been fans that have taken sports too seriously, and there always will be. But before social media, when people thought stuff like that, you didn't know about it. But now they try to be keyboard warriors and get on Facebook or Twitter or X, now that they call it X, or Instagram or whatever their social media platform is, and make themselves sound so big, bad, and tough because they call this player a certain thing, even though nobody knows who you are because you get on there and my name is SpongeBob SquarePants 1748. You're not tough. Don't do that. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why did the sea monster eat 5 ships that were carrying potatoes? No one can eat just one potato ship. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.